The sky above West City shimmered like broken glass. Not a storm, not a dimensional rift, just a shimmer. Goku stood on the balcony of Capsule Core with a half-eaten sandwich in one hand, staring up at the distortion with that curious tilt of his head that usually meant trouble was coming. Bulma stepped outside, holding a tablet, probably ready to yell at him about tracking mud through her lab again. But she froze when she saw his expression. "You feel that?" Goku asked without looking at her. His voice was quiet, almost uncertain, which was rare enough to make Bulma nervous. "Feel what?" she said, glancing up at the sky. "I see something weird up there, but I don't sense energy like you martial artists do." "What is it?" Goku took another bite of his sandwich and chewed slowly, his dark eyes narrowing. "It's like someone's watching. Not just watching, measuring. Like when Whis used to test me and Vegeta before training, but way bigger, way heavier." He lowered the sandwich, his appetite suddenly gone. "It feels like the whole universe just noticed us." Bulma crossed her arms, trying to hide the chill that ran down her spine. "You think it's Beerus? Or maybe another universe's destroyer?" Goku shook his head. "Bigger than that." He clenched his fist, and for just a second, silver light flickered around his knuckles before fading. Way bigger. Across the city, Vegeta stood in the gravity chamber, sweat pouring down his face as he powered down from Super Saiyan Blue. The session had been brutal, pushing himself to 500 times Earth's gravity, but something felt off. The air itself felt wrong, like reality had a crack in it. He wiped his face with a towel and reached for his water bottle when the entire chamber flickered. Not the lights, the walls themselves seemed to glitch like a bad video transmission, and for half a heartbeat, Vegeta could see through them into some vast white void beyond. "What the hell?" he muttered, dropping into a fighting stance. The chamber stabilized, but his instincts screamed danger. He slammed the emergency stop button, and the gravity cut off, the door hissing open. He marched out into the hallway and nearly collided with Trunks, who looked pale. "Dad," Trunks said urgently. "Mom's scanner just picked up something. Energy readings that don't make sense. They're not coming from anywhere. They're just appearing in the air itself." Vegeta's jaw tightened. "Where's Kakarot?" "At our house with Mom," Trunks said. "Should I call him?" "No need," Vegeta growled, already sensing Goku's key signature rising as his rival powered up slightly, probably reacting to the same wrongness in the air. If that idiot felt it too, then this isn't some malfunction. He looked up at the ceiling, as if he could see through it to the sky beyond. Something's coming. At the lookout, Piccolo stood at the edge of the white tiles with his arms crossed, staring into the distance. Dende stood beside him, his young face creased with worry. The Dragon Balls lay arranged in a circle behind them, all 7 glowing faintly with an inner light that shouldn't be there. They weren't supposed to glow unless someone made a wish. "Piccolo," Dende said softly. "The Dragon Balls are resonating with something outside normal space and time. I can feel Shenron stirring inside them, but he's not being summoned. He's reacting, like he's afraid." Piccolo's antennae twitched. "Dragons don't get afraid," he said flatly. "They're eternal. They're above mortal concerns." "Shenron isn't truly eternal," Dende replied, his voice barely a whisper. "He was created by Kami, who was mortal once. And right now, he's terrified. I can feel it through the balls. Whatever is coming, it's beyond even the eternal dragon's power." Piccolo said nothing, but his power level began to rise unconsciously. Orange aura flickering around his body. His potential unleashed state activated on pure instinct. His body preparing for a threat his mind hadn't fully identified yet. In all his years, through all the battles against demons and androids and gods, he'd never felt anything quite like this. It wasn't malice. It wasn't hunger or rage or ambition. It was more like being an ant, suddenly noticing a human shadow falling across the anthill. The sense of scale was paralyzing. In Universe 11, Jiren meditated in his chamber, eyes closed, breathing steady. The enormous Pride Trooper had found peace after the Tournament of Power, accepting that there were warriors who could match him, even surpass him. He'd learned that strength wasn't just about power, but about trust and connection. But now his eyes snapped open, grey irises focusing on nothing, as he felt something ripple across the fabric of space itself. His aura exploded outward involuntarily, red energy shaking the entire Pride Trooper headquarters. Toppo came running, his moustache bristling with concern. "Jiren, what is it?" Toppo demanded. "Are we under attack?" Jiren stood slowly, his massive frame tense. "No attack," he said in that deep, measured voice. "Something worse. A test." He looked at his commander with an expression that might have been worry on the less stoic warrior. "The Grand Zeno is active." Toppo's eyes widened. "The Omni-King? But why would that concern us? We're loyal to the multiverse order." Jiren walked to the window, looking up at the swirling cosmos beyond. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I feel the universe is trembling. All of them, at once." On the frozen wastelands of a distant planet, Broly knelt beside a fire, roasting some kind of alien creature on a spit. Chile and Lemo sat across from him, the three of them enjoying a quiet evening under strange stars. It had taken months, but Broly was finally learning to control his power, to separate anger from strength. He smiled as he turned the spit, the simple pleasure of preparing food with friends, a novelty he'd never experienced growing up. Then his smile faded. The fire's flames turned white for just a moment, flickering in a wind that wasn't there. Broly's eyes widened, and he stood abruptly, the spit falling into the fire. His body began to bulk up involuntarily, muscle expanding as ancient Saiyan instincts kicked in. "Broly!" Chile shouted, jumping to her feet. "What's wrong? Are you losing control?" "No," Broly said, and his voice was strained but clear. "Not losing control. I just feel something big." He looked up at the sky, his pupils dilating. "Like when I first saw Gogeta. That same feeling. But it's not coming from anywhere. It's everywhere." Lemo pulled out his scouter and tapped it frantically. "The readings don't make sense," he muttered. "Power levels spiking across the whole sector, but there's no source. It's like the universe itself is powering up." Back on Earth, at Mount Paozu, Chi-Chi stood in the kitchen, kneading dough for tomorrow's bread, when every window in the house suddenly rattled in their frames. She looked up, annoyed, thinking Goten was probably sparring too close to the house again. But then she saw the sky through the window, saw that unnatural shimmer, and her maternal instincts kicked into high gear. She wiped flour from her hands and marched outside to find Goten and Trunks landing in the yard, both boys looking unusually serious. "Mum," Goten said quickly, "do you know where Dad is? We felt something weird and wanted to make sure everyone's okay. Your father's probably at Bulma's eating her out of house and home," Chi-Chi said with practiced exasperation, but her eyes kept darting to the sky. She had been married to Goku long enough to recognize when the universe was about to explode into another crisis. "You boys stay close to the house. If something's happening, the last thing I need is you two running off to get yourselves killed before dinner." "But Mom," Trunks started. "No buts," Chi-Chi snapped, her voice sharp enough to make both half-Saiyan flinch. "I've been through enough world-ending disasters to know when the adults need to handle things first. Stay. Here." The boys exchanged glances, but nodded. Chi-Chi watched them trudge back toward the house, then looked up at the shimmering sky and sighed. Every single time, she muttered to herself. We finally get a few months of peace, and then this. She walked back inside and immediately started pulling out ingredients for a massive meal. If the universe was ending again, her family would at least face it on full stomachs. At Capsule Corp, Goku and Vegeta now stood together on the lawn, both of them staring up as the shimmer in the sky grew more pronounced. Bulma, Trunks, and even Dr. Brief had come out to watch, along with several Capsule Corp scientists holding various scanning devices that were all going haywire. Kakarot, Vegeta said quietly. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Goku nodded slowly. That this feels like when Zeno was about to erase universes during the tournament. Vegeta's fist clenched. Yes, that same weight, that same sense that reality itself is holding its breath. But we're not in a tournament now, Goku said, confusion creasing his features. We didn't do anything wrong. Why would Zeno be paying attention to us? Before Vegeta could respond, a voice spoke from behind them, calm and almost amused. Perhaps because you wished him to. Both Saiyans spun to find Whis standing there, his staff planted in the grass, his expression unreadable. Beerus stood beside him, arms crossed, tail swishing in irritation. Whis, Goku said, relief flooding his voice. Do you know what's happening? I have a theory, Whis said pleasantly. Tell me, Goku, do you remember what you said to Grand Zeno the last time you met, after the Tournament of Power concluded? Goku scratched his head, thinking back. I said lots of stuff. I told him the tournament was fun. I said we should do it again sometime. I said, he trailed off, eyes widening. I said I wanted to get stronger, so that maybe one day I could give him a real match. You know, someone who could actually challenge him. Vegeta's head whipped toward Goku so fast his neck popped. You what? It was just talk, Goku protested. I didn't think he'd take it seriously. Zeno's the most powerful being in existence. I can't actually fight him. Whis tapped his staff on the ground, and a small holographic display appeared showing the shimmer in the sky spreading across the entire planet. Then the solar system, then the galaxy. And yet, it appears Grand Zeno has been contemplating your words, Whis said. For over a year now in mortal time. Though for him, it's been mere moments. And today, it seems he's made a decision. Beerus yawned, showing his fangs. This is why I told you idiots to stop being so casual with the Omni-King, he grumbled. You can't just befriend the being who erases universes on a whim and expect no consequences. What kind of decision? Vegeta demanded. Is he going to erase Universe 7 because Kakarot ran his mouth? Unknown, Whis said, but his usual smile had faded slightly. However, I suggest you both power up to your maximum forms. Now. The urgency in Whis' voice, rare as a comet, made both Saiyans react instantly. Goku dropped into stance, silver aura exploding around him as he tapped into Ultra Instinct. His hair went silver white, his eyes turned mercury, and the very air around him began to warp from the heat of divine energy. Vegeta roared, purple and crimson aura swirling as he accessed Ultra Ego, his form bulking slightly, his eyes turning sharp and predatory. The ground beneath them cracked and cratered from the pressure of their transformations. Bulma and the others scrambled backward, the scientists' equipment exploding from the energy overload. Trunks transformed into Super Saiyan, just to withstand the pressure waves coming off his father and Goku. Then the sky opened. Not a crack, not a portal. The sky simply ceased to exist in a perfect circle above them, replaced by swirling white void. And from that void descended two small figures, floating gently down, as if reality itself was lowering them on invisible strings. Goku's eyes widened in shock as he recognized them immediately. Zeno, both of them. The Grand Zenos from the present timeline and the future timeline. The two childlike Omni-Kings who ruled all of existence, floated down side by side, their blue robes pristine, their faces bearing those innocent expressions that masked incomprehensible power. "Goku-san," the present Zeno said cheerfully, waving. "Hi." "We came to visit," the future Zeno added, equally cheerful. Goku powered down instantly, dropping out of Ultra Instinct and waving back with a nervous laugh. "Oh hey, Zeno, both of you. This is unexpected. What brings you to Earth?" Vegeta remained in Ultra Ego, every instinct screaming not to let his guard down. Beside him, Beerus had gone rigid, sweat beading on his forehead despite his divine status. Even Whis had straightened, staff held formally. The two Zenos floated down until they were eye level with Goku, hovering a few feet off the ground. Their guards, the two identical Grand Priests, appeared behind them in flashes of light, hands folded, expressions serene but alert. "Goku-san said he wants to fight us," President Zeno said simply. "So we came to fight," future Zeno agreed. The temperature seemed to drop 20 degrees. Goku's smile froze on his face. "Oh," he said weakly. I was just joking around. You know, friendly talk. I didn't mean like right now or anything." "But you did mean it," President Zeno said, tilting his head curiously. "You want to see how strong we are." "Everyone wants to fight the strongest," future Zeno added. "That's what makes fighting fun." Goku laughed nervously, rubbing the back of his head. "Well, yeah, but Zeno, you're the Omni-King. You can erase anything. I can't actually fight that. Nobody can." The two Zenos looked at each other, then back at Goku. "We won't erase," President Zeno said. "We just want to play," future Zeno said. The Grand Priest from the present timeline stepped forward, his gentle smile somehow more terrifying than any snarl. "Perhaps I can clarify," he said, his voice like crystal bells. "My lords have been contemplating Son Goku's statement for some time. They find it intriguing. No one has ever desired to test themselves against the Omni-Kings before. All beings either worship them or fear them, but Goku-san treats them as friends and equals." "I do consider you friends," Goku said quickly. "Good friends, but equals is maybe pushing it." The Grand Priest continued, as if Goku hadn't spoken. "Therefore, my lords have decided to grant you your wish, a match, a true contest of combat. They will suppress their erasure abilities and fight using only martial technique and energy manipulation." He gestured gracefully. "Of course, even suppressed, they are still the supreme rulers of all existence. The energy they command is beyond divine, beyond the angels, beyond even myself and my counterpart. But they will fight fairly, using rules you can understand." Vegeta powered down slowly, his mind racing. "This is insane," he muttered. "Even if they don't erase us, fighting the Omni-Kings could destroy the universe just from collateral damage." The Grand Priest's smile widened a fraction. "Which is why the match will not take place in Universe 7, or any universe. The combat will occur in the Null Realm, where the tournament of power was held. Indestructible, infinite, perfect for a battle of this magnitude." He looked directly at Goku. "You have 1 hour to prepare yourself and select any allies you wish to bring. The Omni-Kings wish to face Universe 7's strongest warriors in a team battle. Yourselves against them. If you can make them exert real effort, they will be satisfied. If you cannot, well, they will likely grow bored and leave. Either way, Universe 7 will not be punished. This is purely for entertainment." Beerus finally found his voice. "And if we refuse?" "You won't," the future timeline's Grand Priest said simply. Because Son Goku will not refuse. His nature makes it impossible. He looked at Goku with something almost like respect. He is a Saiyan. Battle is his truth, and the chance to face the ultimate opponent, even knowing he will lose, is something he cannot resist. All eyes turned to Goku. The Saiyan stood there, trembling slightly, and Bulma realized with horror that he wasn't trembling from fear. He was trembling from excitement. His fists were clenched, his breathing had quickened, and that familiar wild light was building in his eyes. "Goku," Bulma said desperately, "you can't be seriously considering this. They're the Omni-Kings. Even if they're holding back, you could die. Everyone could die." Goku didn't look at her. He stared at the two Zenos, who stared back with innocent curiosity, and slowly a grin spread across his face. That old Goku grin that had preceded every impossible battle, every unwinnable fight he'd somehow survived. "1 hour to prepare," he said. "Can I bring Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo? You may bring anyone from Universe 7 who volunteers," the Grand Priest confirmed. "Then I'm in," Goku said, and his grin widened. "I've always wondered what the top really looks like. The absolute peak. If you're giving me the chance to see it, even if I can't reach it yet, then yeah, I'm in." Vegeta groaned but stepped forward. "If Kakarot's fighting the Omni-Kings, then I'm fighting too. I won't let him have this battle alone." The two Grand Priests bowed slightly. "Excellent. We will await you in the Null Realm. 1 hour." They and the two Zenos vanished in pulses of white light, and the hole in the sky sealed itself as if it had never been. For a long moment nobody moved. Then Bulma punched Goku in the arm hard enough to make him wince despite his godly durability. "You idiot," she shrieked. "Do you have any idea what you just agreed to? This isn't some tournament with rules and refs. This is the actual Omni-Kings. The beings who erase universes like we delete files." "They said they wouldn't erase anyone," Goku protested, rubbing his arm. "And they want to have fun. It'll be like sparring." Whis cleared his throat. "I feel obligated to point out that even in suppressed forms, the Omni-Kings possess power that makes Lord Beerus look like an insect. Their physical strength alone could shatter dimensions. Their energy control is absolute, and that's before considering that they exist outside normal causality. They could potentially undo your attacks before you make them." "Great," Vegeta said sourly. "So we're fighting omnipotent gods who are just pretending to be mortal for an hour. Wonderful." Goku's expression turned serious. "Then we'll need everyone at their absolute strongest." He pulled out his phone, an old model Bulma had given him years ago. "I'm calling Gohan and Piccolo. Vegeta, you get Broly if you can reach him. We might need his raw power. I'll contact Jiren through the Supreme Kai network," Whis offered. "If the Omni-Kings desire Universe 7's strongest, they may permit a borrowed warrior or two, given the circumstances." Beerus sat down heavily on the lawn, tail wrapped around his body. "This is the stupidest thing I've ever witnessed," he muttered, "and I've lived for millions of years." But despite his words, there was a gleam in the Destroyer's eyes, a curiosity that matched Goku's in intensity, if not in purity. Even Beerus, god of destruction, had never seen the Omni-Kings fight. No one had. In all of history across all universes, the Zenos had simply existed, watching, erasing, judging. They'd never needed to raise a hand in combat, because nothing in existence could threaten them. Until now. Until a Saiyan from Earth had dared to dream of the impossible. Goku made his calls while Vegeta stalked off to contact Broly through their emergency communicator. Bulma stood with her arms wrapped around herself, watching the sky nervously. Trunks came over and put a hand on her shoulder. "Mom," he said quietly, Is Dad going to be okay? Bulma looked at her son and forced a smile. Your father survived gods, demons, androids, and universal tournaments. If anyone can survive this, it's him and Goku. She didn't mention her real fear. That survival might not be the issue. That the Omni-Kings might find the battle entertaining and decide they wanted to keep fighting, keep pushing, until Universe 7's champions broke. Within minutes, orange light flashed as Piccolo teleported in using Kai Kai, landing beside Goku with his weighted cape billowing. Right behind him came Gohan in his base form, having been pulled from a physics lecture he was giving at the university. His glasses were gone, his eyes sharp and focused. Dad, Gohan said, Piccolo told me what's happening on the way here. This is real? We're actually fighting Zeno. Both Zenos, Goku corrected. And yeah, it's real. I need you at Gohan Beast. Full power, no holding back. Gohan nodded slowly, his scholar's mind already analyzing the tactical impossibility of what they were attempting. Understood. If we're fighting entities beyond even the angels, conventional strategies won't work. We'll need to rely on instinct and adaptation. Piccolo crossed his arms, his face grim. I'm coming too. Even if I'm outclassed, an extra set of eyes and tactical support could make the difference. Vegeta returned scowling. Broly's not answering. He's probably on some backwater planet with no signal. We'll have to make do without him. What about Jiren? Goku asked Whis. The angel tapped his staff and nodded. Universe 11 Supreme Kai has granted permission for Jiren to participate as a guest warrior. He's being teleported to the Null Realm as we speak. The Pride Trooper apparently volunteered the moment he sensed what was happening. Goku's grin returned. That's great. Having Jiren there will really help. He looked around at his assembled team. Vegeta in his training gear. Gohan in his academic clothes. Piccolo in his GI and weighted cape. Not the largest team, but definitely the strongest warriors Universe 7 had to offer outside the divine beings themselves. Bulma stepped forward and grabbed Goku's arm. You come back, she said fiercely. All of you come back. I didn't spend decades keeping you idiots alive just to lose you to some cosmic sparring match. Goku's expression softened and he patted her hand. We'll come back, promise. This is just an exhibition match. Zeno likes me, remember? He wouldn't actually hurt us. But even as he said it, a small voice in the back of his mind whispered doubt. The Xenos liked him, yes, but they also liked erasing universes when they got bored. Their affection and their danger weren't mutually exclusive. They were children with the power of gods, and children didn't always understand their own strength. Whis raised his staff. Very well. If everyone is ready, I'll transport you to the Null Realm. Lord Beerus, will you be observing? Obviously, Beerus grumbled, standing up and stretching. If Goku's about to do something monumentally stupid, I want to witness it firsthand. Plus, someone needs to make sure the Omni-Kings don't accidentally erase everything if they get too excited. The group gathered around Whis, even Bulma and Trunks deciding to come along as observers. The angel tapped his staff twice, and in a flash of rainbow light, Capsule Corp's lawn was empty. They materialized in the Null Realm, that infinite expanse of indestructible stone that existed outside normal space and time. The sky above, if it could be called a sky, was empty void. No stars, no planets, just infinite nothingness. The stage beneath their feet was the same massive fighting platform from the Tournament of Power, stretching to the horizon in all directions. And at the center of the platform stood the two Zenos waiting patiently. Beside them stood both Grand Priests and, surprisingly, all 12 angels from the 12 universes, lined up like a heavenly choir. Apparently, The entire divine bureaucracy had turned out to watch this unprecedented event. At the far edge of the platform, Jiren stood alone, arms crossed, his massive frame absolutely still. He met Goku's eyes across the distance and nodded once. No words needed. The Pride Trooper understood what was at stake. The Grand Priest stepped forward and gestured broadly. "Welcome, warriors of Universe 7, and guest warrior Jiren of Universe 11. You stand now in the Null Realm, where the tournament of power was waged. Here, you will face the Omni-Kings in honorable combat. The rules are simple. Fight until one side surrenders or is rendered unable to continue. No erasure techniques will be used by the Omni-Kings. No killing is permitted from either side. Otherwise, all combat techniques are acceptable." He clasped his hands together. "This is a historic moment, the first time in the history of all creation that the Omni-Kings will engage in martial combat. Do your universe proud." The angels all raised their staffs in unison, and a golden barrier sprang up around the battlefield, segmenting off a section roughly 10 miles in diameter. The observation area, where Whis, Beerus, and the non-combatants stood, was outside the barrier and protected. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo walked forward to stand with Jiren. The 5 warriors faced the 2 childlike Omni-Kings across 100 yards of empty stone. "Zeno," Goku called out, his voice echoing in the void. "Thanks for this. I know it's weird, but I've always wanted to see what real power looks like up close. The power at the very top. So I'm going to give you my best shot. Okay?" Both Zeno smiled and waved. "Okay, Goku-san," Present Zeno said. "Show us what Universe 7 can do," Future Zeno added. Then both Omni-Kings raised their small hands and reality screamed. The pressure that exploded outward from the 2 Zenos wasn't energy in any conventional sense. It was existence itself bending under the weight of their attention. Goku felt his knees buckle and caught himself, gritting his teeth as he transformed immediately into Ultra Instinct. Silver aura blazed around him, but even that divine state felt inadequate. Beside him, Vegeta roared into Ultra Ego, purple and crimson energy crackling like a storm. Gohan's hair went white, and his eyes turned red as Gohan Beast erupted, his power spiking so high that cracks appeared in the indestructible stone beneath his feet. Piccolo's orange aura flared as his potential unleashed state maximized, muscles swelling slightly as every ounce of his power came to the surface. And Jiren simply powered up, red aura exploding around his body, his grey eyes burning with focus. Even combined, even at their absolute peaks, the 5 warriors together felt like candles standing before the sun. The 2 Zenos floated forward slowly, casually, their small bodies somehow more imposing than any muscle giant. They looked at each other, smiled, then looked back at the warriors. The present Zeno raised one hand and made a pushing motion, not aggressive, almost playful, like a child pushing a toy car. The shockwave that resulted was anything but playful. Goku's Ultra Instinct reacted before his mind could process, his body moving on pure autonomous reflex. He dodged left as a wave of pure force obliterated the space where he'd been standing, the air itself disintegrating into nothingness before regenerating. Vegeta crossed his arms and tanked the blast, using Ultra Ego's ability to convert damage into power. But even he was driven back 50 feet, boots scraping grooves in the stone. Gohan created a barrier of golden ki that shattered instantly, forcing him to teleport using instant transmission to avoid being crushed. Piccolo stretched his arms and grabbed both Gohan and Jiren, yanking them aside as the shockwave passed through where they'd stood. Jiren's aura intensified, his eyes narrowing as he realized what they were facing. "This isn't suppressed power," Jiren said quietly, his deep voice cutting through the chaos. "This is controlled power. There's a difference. They're not holding back their strength. They're just controlling it perfectly so it doesn't destroy everything. Goku landed in a crouch, breathing hard despite Ultra Instinct's efficiency. He's right. That one attack had more force than anything Jiren hit me with in the tournament. And Zeno wasn't even trying. He looked at his teammates. We can't hold anything back. Hit them with everything from the start. Agreed, Vegeta snarled. He thrust both hands forward and unleashed a gamma burst flash, purple energy beams screaming across the distance toward the two Zenos. At the same instant, Gohan fired a special beam cannon, the spinning drill of yellow energy combining with Vegeta's attack. Piccolo extended his arms and fired a barrage of Hell Zone grenades that surrounded the Zenos from all angles. Jiren charged forward at impossible speed, his fist cocked back, power building around his knuckles. And Goku vanished using instant transmission, appearing directly behind the Zenos with a silver-wreathed fist aimed at their backs. The coordinated assault would have obliterated a planet. It would have challenged a god of destruction. Against the Omni-Kings, it looked like children throwing pebbles at a mountain. The future Zeno giggled and clapped his hands once. The sound echoed like thunder, and every single attack stopped in midair. Not blocked, not deflected, simply stopped, frozen in space and time as if the universe itself had paused. Goku's fist hung inches from Zeno's back, his entire body locked in stasis. Vegeta's beam hung suspended in the air like a sculpture. Gohan's special beam cannon rotated slowly, going nowhere. Piccolo's grenades floated like Christmas ornaments, and Jiren, impossibly, was frozen mid-punch, his unstoppable momentum negated by a child's clap. The present Zeno waved his hand, and the attacks all reversed direction, flying back toward their creators at twice the speed. Goku's body unlocked just in time for his own punch to hit him in the face, silver aura exploding as he was launched backward. Vegeta was struck by his own gamma burst flash and driven into the ground, creating a crater despite Ultra Ego's durability. Gohan barely teleported away from his special beam cannon, the attack grazing his shoulder and drawing blood. Piccolo's grenades detonated around him, orange aura flickering as he tanked the explosions. Jiren caught his own fist, the kinetic energy creating a shockwave that cratered the ground beneath him. But he held his position through sheer willpower. The two Zenos floated there, untouched, smiling. That was fun, Present Zeno said. Do more. Show us stronger attacks, Future Zeno agreed. Goku pulled himself from the rubble, wiping blood from his lip. His Ultra Instinct had failed to dodge because there was nothing to dodge. The attack hadn't come from the Zenos. It had come from reality itself obeying their will. That's not fighting, he muttered. That's just rewriting the rules. Which is exactly what they are, Piccolo said, landing beside him with his GI torn. They don't follow physics or causality. They define it. Every law of the universe exists because they allow it to. His eyes narrowed. We need to force them to actually fight back. Right now, they're just toying with us. Vegeta climbed from his crater, purple aura raging. Then we hit them so hard they have to take us seriously. He glanced at Goku. Kakarot. Fusion. Goku's eyes widened. You sure? Vegeta hated using fusion, hated the loss of individual identity it represented. For him to suggest it this early meant he understood just how outmatched they were. I'm sure, Vegeta snapped. We're not winning this as individuals. We're barely surviving as individuals. If we want to make the Omni-Kings actually fight, we need Gogeta. Wait, Gohan interjected, flying over with Jiren. If you two fuse, that's only one fighter. What about the rest of us? You support, Jiren said simply. We create openings. We force them to divide their attention. Then Gogeta strikes with everything. It's the only tactical approach that makes sense against opponents of this magnitude. Piccolo nodded. I hate to admit it, but the Pride Troop was right. Gohan, you and I will run interference. Jiren, you're the second heavy hitter. Keep one of the Zenos busy while Gogeta focuses on the other. But they're identical, Gohan pointed out. How do we know attacking them separately will work? We don't, Vegeta said bluntly. But standing here talking isn't working either. He turned to Goku. Metamoran or Potara? Potara is stronger and lasts longer, Goku said, pulling out a small box from his gi. Whis gave these to me after the Broly fight, just in case. He opened the box, revealing 2 green Potara earrings, the Supreme Kai fusion items that created permanent mergers for mortals. Well, permanent for an hour at their power levels. Good enough. Vegeta snatched one earring and jammed it onto his left ear. Goku put the other on his right. Immediately, the earrings began to glow, and both Saiyans were yanked toward each other by an irresistible force. Their bodies collided and exploded into blinding white light. Gohan, Piccolo, and Jiren all shielded their eyes as the fusion energy washed over them, reality itself bending around the merger of 2 of Universe D7's mightiest warriors. When the light faded, a single figure stood there, and the pressure coming off him was something else entirely. Gogeta in his base form, with Goku's wild hair and Vegeta's sharp features, wearing the Metamoran fusion vest. But this wasn't Metamoran fusion. This was Potara Gogeta, and his power was magnified beyond what the dance could achieve. His eyes opened, and they held Goku's kindness and Vegeta's intensity in perfect balance. Gogeta, the fused warrior said, testing his voice. He looked at his hands, clenching them into fists. This is incredible. I can feel both of their powers, but also something more, something that happens when they combine. He looked toward the 2 Zenos and grinned. All right then, let's see if this is enough to make you try. He transformed immediately, not bothering with the intermediate forms. Blue hair flashed and then shifted, blue melding into red and silver, and suddenly Gogeta stood there in a form that shouldn't exist. Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego, Goku and Vegeta's ultimate techniques, combined through fusion into something new. His hair was silver blue with hints of purple. His eyes were mercury with flecks of crimson. His aura was silver and purple intertwined, crackling with both divine instinct and destructive ego. The Grand Priest, watching from the observation area, raised an eyebrow for the first time in eons. Fascinating, he murmured. The fusion has merged incompatible divine techniques into a singular form. I didn't think that was possible. With Saiyans, we said quietly, anything is possible. That's what makes them so dangerous. On the battlefield, Gogeta vanished. Not instant transmission, pure speed. He appeared in front of the present Zeno and threw a punch that distorted space itself, the air screaming as dimensional barriers cracked. The Omni-King's eyes widened slightly, in surprise, the first real reaction they'd shown, and he raised one small hand. Gogeta's fist connected with that hand, and the resulting shockwave exploded outward in a sphere of destruction that vaporized the stone for a mile in every direction. When the dust cleared, Zeno had been pushed back exactly 1 inch. Oh, present Zeno said, sounding genuinely pleased. That tickled. My turn, future Zeno said. And suddenly, he was in front of Gogeta, moving faster than even the fused warrior's ultra instinct could track. A small palm thrust struck Gogeta in the chest, and despite the fusion's combined defenses, he felt ribs crack. The force launched him backward at relativistic speeds, but Gogeta twisted in midair, fired a God Kamehameha at the ground to arrest his momentum, and came back even faster, hammering future Zeno with a stardust breaker. The rainbow energy sphere engulfed the Omni-King completely. For one heartbeat, everyone thought it might have worked. Then the energy simply disappeared, absorbed into nothingness, and future Zeno floated there completely unharmed. "Good technique," he said cheerfully. "Pretty colors." Gohan and Piccolo attacked from opposite sides, Gohan unleashing a super Kamehameha, while Piccolo fired an enhanced Makangasapo. The two beams spiraled together toward present Zeno, who looked at them curiously. He poked the combined beam with one finger, and it split apart, the energy dissipating harmlessly into the void. Jiren appeared above both Zenos, his body blazing with maximum power. His fists came down like meteors, each punch backed by enough force to shatter planets. The Zenos caught his fists in their tiny hands, and Jiren's eyes widened in shock as he felt his own unstoppable strength simply stop. It wasn't that the Zenos were stronger, though they were. It was that they existed outside the concept of being overpowered. Strength was something they granted to other beings. Using it against them was like trying to punch mathematics. "You're very strong," present Zeno told Jiren conversationally while holding his fist. "Strongest in Universe 11. But not as strong as Gogeta," future Zeno added, looking at the fused Saiyan. "He's the strongest here." Both Zenos released Jiren and turned their full attention to Gogeta. The fused warrior felt their focus land on him like physical weight, and even his combined divine form struggled under that pressure. This was what it meant to be observed by the Omni-Kings, to have the beings who decided what existed and what didn't exist concentrate on you completely. "Show us your best attack," both Zenos said in unison, their voices harmonizing in a way that made reality vibrate. "The one you think might work. We want to see it." Gogeta understood. They were giving him a free shot, a chance to show what mortal effort could achieve. It was probably the only chance he'd get before they decided they were bored. He looked at Gohan, Piccolo, and Jiren and nodded. They understood immediately and began charging their own attacks, preparing to fire simultaneously with whatever Gogeta unleashed. The fused Saiyan rose into the air, his combined aura blazing so brightly it illuminated the entire null realm. He brought his hands together at his side, and power began to build between his palms. Not just his power. He was drawing on Goku's ultra instinct to perfectly control the energy, drawing on Vegeta's ultra ego to channel destruction itself, drawing on Saiyan biology to endlessly amplify the attack as it built. The Kamehameha that formed between his hands was silver and purple, swirling with the combined essences of autonomy and destruction, and it grew larger and larger until it was a small sun compressed between his palms. Gohan's hands blazed with golden light as he formed his own ultimate Kamehameha. Piccolo's fingers crackled with orange energy as he prepared a Hellzone grenade barrage. Jiren's entire body became a weapon, red aura condensing into pure kinetic force. The four warriors, the strongest mortals in the multiverse, prepared to strike together. "Final Kamehameha," Gogeta whispered, and the compressed sun in his hands destabilized. He thrust his palms forward, and the beam that erupted was unlike anything ever seen in creation. Silver and purple energy, the width of a skyscraper, containing enough power to erase galaxies, screamed toward the two Zenos. Gohan, Piccolo, and Jiren fired simultaneously, their attacks merging with Gogeta's, and the combined assault became a pillar of destruction that made the Tournament of Power's spirit bomb look like a firecracker. The two Zenos looked at the incoming apocalypse and smiled. Then, for the first time, they moved seriously. Both raised their hands together and spoke in unison. "Negate." The attack vanished, not blocked, not deflected, not absorbed, simply ceased to exist, as if It had never been fired. Gogeta felt the technique ripped from reality itself. His energy returned to him unused. It was the most casual display of absolute power he'd ever witnessed. But something had changed. The Xenos' smiles had widened. They looked at each other and nodded, some silent communication passing between them. When they looked back at the warriors, their eyes were different, still innocent, still childlike, but now with a spark of genuine interest. "That was really good," present Zeno said. "So we'll try too now," future Zeno added. Both Omni-Kings raised their hands, and for the first time in this battle, they attacked with intent. Reality split. That was the only way to describe it. The null realm, indestructible and infinite, cracked like glass as both Xenos released a fraction of their true power. They didn't fire energy beams. They didn't throw punches. They simply willed destruction, and destruction manifested as waves of erasure energy that swept toward the warriors like tsunamis of nothingness. Gogeta's ultra instinct screamed warnings, and he grabbed Gohan and Piccolo, teleporting them away using instant transmission. Jiren tried to tank the wave, his pride refusing to dodge, but even his incredible durability meant nothing. The erasure energy touched his arm, and the limb began to dissolve into nothingness. He roared and pulled back, red aura flaring as he somehow forced his arm to regenerate through sheer willpower and the lingering power of the Pride Trooper's ideals given form. But it cost him. He fell to one knee, breathing hard, his grey eyes wide with the realization of how close he'd come to being erased from existence. Finally, the Xenos floated forward, and now they moved with purpose. Present Zeno appeared in front of Gogeta faster than instant transmission, faster than Ultra Instinct could track, and slapped the fused warrior across the face. It was a child slap, almost playful, but Gogeta felt his fusion form destabilize from the impact, Goku and Vegeta's essences nearly separating. He flipped backward, fired a God Kamehameha at point-blank range, and watched in despair as Zeno simply walked through it like it was mist. Future Zeno appeared behind Gohan and poked him in the back. The young scholar's Gohan beast form flickered and nearly collapsed, his ultimate power somehow dampened by a single touch. He spun and threw a desperate punch that Zeno caught with one finger, then flicked Gohan's forehead. The half Saiyan was launched across the arena, tumbling end over end before Piccolo caught him with stretched arms. "This isn't a fight," Piccolo gasped, his strategic mind finally accepting what his pride had refused to acknowledge. "We're not fighting them. They're playing with us, like a human playing tag with ants. Then we make them take us seriously," Gogeta snarled. He powered up even further, pushing past the limits of what Potara fusion should allow, drawing on the limitless potential that defined Saiyans. His aura exploded outward, silver blue-purple energy creating a pillar that reached into the infinite void above. Every muscle in his body strained, every cell pushed beyond breaking, and for just a moment he touched something beyond ultra instinct and ultra ego, a state that existed past divine technique, past mortal comprehension. His hair flickered between colors, his eyes burned with light, and his power level spiked to heights that made even the angels watching gasp in amazement. "Impossible," one of the angels whispered. "He's breaking through to a realm that mortals shouldn't be able to access. Saiyans are impossible," Whis said with a hint of pride. "That's their defining trait." Gogeta moved, and this time even the Xenos had to react. He appeared between them, spinning, his fists and feet striking in combinations that utilized Goku's martial arts mastery and Vegeta's ruthless efficiency. Each blow bent space. Each strike tore holes in dimensions. The Xenos actually had to dodge, their small bodies weaving through Gogeta's assault. And for the first time, They looked like they were exerting effort. Then both Zenos stopped moving and looked at each other. They nodded, reached out, and held hands. The moment their fingers touched, the entire null realm shook. The indestructible stone beneath everyone's feet cracked and heaved. The void above swirled like a hurricane, and a presence descended that made even Gogeta's newly achieved state feel insignificant. The two Xanos, holding hands, were no longer two separate beings. They had combined their consciousness, their power, their very existence into a singular focus. Their eyes glowed pure white, and when they spoke, it was with one voice that echoed from every direction simultaneously. "You have made us try. We are pleased." Gogeta felt fear for the first time since fusing. Real, primal fear. Because the combined Xenos weren't playing anymore. They raised one hand together, and a sphere of pure white energy formed above their heads. It grew slowly, methodically, and Gogeta could feel what it was. Not a ki blast, not even erasure energy. It was raw creation and destruction combined, the fundamental forces that the Omni-Kings used to shape and end universes compressed into a single point. "Everyone runs," Gogeta shouted to his allies. "Now!" But there was nowhere to run. The sphere expanded, engulfing the entire battlefield, and Gogeta raised his hands to block, knowing it was futile. The white energy washed over him like an ocean wave, and he felt his fusion form being unmade. Goku and Vegeta being separated forcefully, their Potara earrings shattering. He felt his power draining away. He felt himself being reduced to nothing. Then Jiren was there, his massive frame standing between the attack and the Saiyans, arms crossed, red aura blazing. The Pride Trooper took the full force of the combined Xenos' attack, and his body began to crack like porcelain. But he didn't move. He didn't fall. Because Jiren had learned from the Tournament of Power that strength wasn't just about power. It was about protecting what mattered. "You'll have to go through me," Jiren said through gritted teeth, blood streaming from his eyes and ears. His aura intensified impossibly, his willpower refusing to let his body collapse. "And I don't break easily." The white energy pressed harder and Jiren began to scream. But in that moment of sacrifice, Gohan and Piccolo acted. Gohan poured all of his Gohan Beast power into Jiren, his golden energy merging with the Pride Trooper's red aura, reinforcing his defenses. Piccolo wrapped his stretched arms around both of them, adding his own power to the shield, orange energy joining gold and red. The three warriors, from different universes and different philosophies, stood together against the Omni-Kings' power, and somehow, impossibly, they held. The white energy crashed against their combined defense and stopped, just for a moment, just for a heartbeat. But it was enough. Goku and Vegeta, separated now, scrambled to their feet. They looked at each other, breathing hard, bloody and beaten. And without words, they moved. Goku transformed into Ultra Instinct, Vegeta into Ultra Ego. They charged forward side by side, not fused but together, and struck at the combined Xenos with everything they had left. Their fists connected with the Omni-King's barrier at the exact same instant. Silver and purple energy exploded outward, mixing with the white creation destruction sphere, and for just one impossible moment, the forces equalized. Goku's perfected autonomous movement and Vegeta's ever-growing destructive power, combined with the willpower of three warriors holding back annihilation, created a counter-force that pushed back against the Omni-King's attack. The white sphere stopped expanding. Then incredibly, it began to shrink. The combined Xenos' eyes widened in genuine surprise as their attack was forced back through sheer mortal determination and teamwork. "They're doing it," Whis breathed from the observation area. "They're actually pushing back the Omni-King's power." "Don't be ridiculous," Beerus snapped. But even the god of destruction sounded uncertain. They can't possibly win, can they? The sphere shrank further and further until it was just a small white dot between the combined Xenos' raised hands. The 5 warriors, exhausted and broken, stood in a semicircle around the Omni-King, all of them ready to collapse, but none of them willing to give up. Goku and Vegeta at the front, Jiren barely standing with Gohan and Piccolo supporting him from behind. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the combined Xenos released each other's hands, separating back into 2 distinct beings. They looked at the warriors and smiled, their childlike innocence returning. That was fun, present Zeno said. Really fun, future Zeno agreed. You didn't give up even when you were losing. You worked together even though you're from different universes, present Zeno continued. And you pushed back our power even a little bit, future Zeno finished. No one's ever done that before. The Grand Priest appeared beside the Xenos, his expression unreadable. My lord seems satisfied, he observed. Shall I declare the match concluded? The 2 Xenos looked at each other, then at the warriors, then nodded. Match is over, they said together. Universe 7 wins. Goku blinked in confusion, swaying on his feet. We win. But we didn't beat you. We barely survived. You made us happy, present Zeno said simply. That means you win. And you showed us something new, future Zeno added. Teamwork across universes. Friends fighting together. That's more important than strength. The Grand Priest tapped his staff and the golden barrier dissolved. Immediately, Whis rushed forward with senzu beans he'd borrowed from Korin before the match, distributing them to the fallen warriors. Goku and Vegeta ate theirs gratefully, feeling broken bones mend and energy restore. Jiren accepted his with a nod of thanks, his cracked exterior healing instantly. Gohan and Piccolo recovered quickly, though both looked shell-shocked by what they'd just experienced. The 2 Xenos floated over to Goku and high-fived him, their small hands smacking against his with genuine affection. Thanks for the match, Goku-san, present Zeno said. Let's do it again sometime, future Zeno added. Goku laughed weakly, sitting down heavily on the stone. Maybe give me like 10 years to train first, okay? You guys are way stronger than I thought. We're the strongest, both Xenos said matter-of-factly. But you're the strongest mortals. That's pretty good. Vegeta limped over and sat beside Goku, for once too exhausted to maintain his pride. Kakarot, he said quietly. That was the stupidest, most insane, most Saiyan thing you've ever convinced me to do. But we survived, Goku pointed out. Barely. Vegeta looked at his hands, still trembling slightly. For a moment when we pushed back that sphere, I felt something, like we touched the edge of what they are. It wasn't about power. It was about will, about refusing to give up even when the universe itself says you should. Gohan approached with Piccolo, Jiren walking beside them. The young scholar's glasses had somehow survived the battle, and he pushed them up his nose with an exhausted smile. Dad, Uncle Vegeta, that was incredible. You both went further than I've ever seen. We all did, Jiren said, his deep voice respectful. Your universe has warriors worthy of pride. It was an honor to fight beside you. The Grand Priest cleared his throat, drawing everyone's attention. The Omni-Kings wish to make an announcement, he said formally. All present are advised to listen carefully. The 2 Xenos floated up to address everyone, their voices carrying across the Null realm. Because this match was fun, we're making a new rule. From now on, universes can work together more. Train together, fight together, be friends together. No more keeping apart all the time. Universe tournaments will continue, present Zeno added. But between tournaments, warriors can visit and learn from each other. We want more matches like this one, future Zeno said. where everyone tries their hardest and no one gives up. The Grand Priest bowed. A most generous decree, my lords. I shall inform all Supreme Kais and gods of destruction immediately. This will be remembered as a historic day in the multiverse. The two Zenos waved at everyone, then turned to the Grand Priests. We're going home now. We're tired. With that, they vanished in pulses of white light, and most of the angels disappeared with them, returning to their respective universes. Only Whis remained, along with Beerus. The god of destruction walked over to where Goku and Vegeta sat and stood over them with his arms crossed. You two, he said in a dangerous voice, are the most reckless, idiotic, insane warriors I have ever had the misfortune to train. Goku and Vegeta both flinched, expecting destruction, but then Beerus smirked, which is probably why the Omni-Kings like you so much. Well done. Not many beings can say they've fought the rulers of everything and lived to tell about it. Lord Beerus, Whis said gently, should we return everyone to Earth? They all look rather exhausted. Beerus nodded. Yes, and when we get back, I expect a feast. Fighting makes me hungry, even when I'm just watching. Whis tapped his staff, and rainbow light enveloped everyone. In a flash, they were back on Capsule Corp's lawn where this had all started. Bulma immediately ran forward and punched both Goku and Vegeta in the arms, tears streaming down her face. You idiots, she shouted. Do you have any idea how worried I was? You fought the Omni-Kings, the actual Omni-Kings, and survived, Vegeta pointed out, rubbing his arm, though I'm starting to think your punches might be worse. Trunks ran up and hugged his father, not caring about maintaining a warrior's dignity. I thought we'd lost you, he said quietly. Vegeta awkwardly patted his son's head. Takes more than gods to kill a Saiyan prince, he muttered, but his voice was gentle. Gohan pulled out his phone and immediately called Videl, explaining that he was fine and would be home soon. Piccolo stood apart, arms crossed, looking up at the sky with a contemplative expression. Jiren approached him and the two warriors nodded to each other, a mutual respect passing between them. Your tactical support was crucial, Jiren said. Without your coordination, we would have fallen much sooner. Piccolo snorted. Coming from you, that's high praise. The Pride Trooper's reputation isn't exaggerated. Jiren's stern expression softened slightly. Perhaps when universes begin training together, we could spar. I would welcome the challenge. Before Piccolo could respond, Goku jumped up, his Saiyan stamina already recovering. Hey Jiren, thanks for coming to help. You were amazing out there. That moment when you blocked the Zeno's attack, that was true strength. Jiren clasped Goku's hand firmly. Anytime, son Goku. Today I learned that strength isn't just about individual power. It's about what we can achieve together. The Tournament of Power taught me to trust others. This battle reinforced that lesson. We smiled and created a large table laden with food using his angel abilities. Since Lord Beerus demands a feast, I thought I'd prepare something suitable. Please, everyone eat and recover. You've certainly earned it. The group gathered around the table, exhaustion fading as hunger took over. Even Vegeta sat down without complaint, too tired to maintain his usual standoffish behavior. As they ate, the conversation turned to what had just happened, everyone processing the impossible battle they'd survived. I still can't believe we pushed back their attack, Gohan said between bites of rice. Even for just a moment, we countered the Omni-King's power. We didn't counter it, Piccolo corrected. We surprised them. There's a difference. They let us push back because they were pleased by our effort. Does it matter? Goku asked with a grin. The point is we all gave everything we had, and we survived. That's what counts. Vegeta swallowed a mouthful of food and pointed his chopsticks at Goku. Don't get comfortable, Kakarot. The Omni-Kings were holding back enormously. If they'd actually tried to erase us, we wouldn't have lasted a second. I know, Goku said, his expression turning serious. But that just means there's room to get stronger. We saw the peak today, the absolute top of existence. And yeah, we're nowhere close. But at least now, we know what we're aiming for. You're impossible, Vegeta muttered. But there was no heat in his words. Just weary acceptance that Goku would always find a reason to push further. Beerus finished his plate and leaned back with a satisfied sigh. You mortals are exhausting. But I admit, that was the most entertaining spectacle I've witnessed in millennia. The look on the Grand Priest's face when Gogeta started pushing toward a realm beyond divine techniques was priceless. What was that anyway? Gohan asked curiously. When Dad and Vegeta fused, they combined Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego. I didn't think incompatible techniques could merge like that. Whis tapped his staff thoughtfully. Fusion is more than combining power levels. It creates something new, a being that transcends the sum of its parts. Gogeta briefly touched what I would call autonomous destruction, a state where perfect movement and perfect offense exist simultaneously. It's theoretically impossible, which is why it only lasted moments before destabilizing. Could it be mastered? Vegeta asked, his competitive instincts immediately drawn to the new possibility. Perhaps, Whis said, but it would require both of you to achieve complete mastery of your individual forms first. Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego are both incomplete in your hands. Master them separately before attempting to combine them through fusion. Jiren spoke up from his end of the table. What impressed me most wasn't the fusion's power. It was how you all fought together despite having different techniques and strategies. In Universe 11, we trained for coordination, but you achieved it instinctively in the heat of battle. That's Universe 7 for you, Piccolo said with a slight smile. We're chaotic, reckless, and we never know when to quit. But when it matters, we come through. As the feast continued, the sun began to set over West City, painting the sky in oranges and purples. The shimmer that had started everything was gone, reality stable once more. But something had changed fundamentally. The multiverse had opened up. Universes would train together now. Warriors would share techniques and grow stronger collectively. And somewhere in the infinite void beyond space and time, two childlike beings sat on their throne, swinging their legs happily and discussing the match they just enjoyed. The Grand Priest stood beside them, hands folded, waiting for their next command. That was the best match ever, President Zeno said. We should do more matches like that, future Zeno agreed. Watching people try their hardest is fun. Indeed, my lords, the present Grand Priest said. Perhaps a cross-universe training program could be established. Allow warriors from different universes to learn from each other, growing stronger for your entertainment. Yes, both Zeno said together. Make it happen, President Zeno ordered. We want strong warriors in all universes, future Zeno added, not just Universe 7 and 11. The Grand Priest bowed and vanished to begin implementing the decree. The Omni-Kings sat alone, looking down at the multiverse they ruled, and for the first time in their eternal existence, they felt something new. Not boredom, not idle curiosity, but genuine interest in what these strange mortal creatures would achieve next. Back on Earth, the party continued long into the night. Chi-Chi arrived with Goten, having prepared enough food to feed an army, which was exactly what was needed. More friends showed up. Krillin and 18, Tien and Chiaotzu, even Yamcha, who contributed actual wolf meat he'd hunted. The celebration grew as word spread that Universe 7 had faced the Omni-Kings and survived. But eventually, exhaustion won out. Jiren was returned to Universe 11 with gratitude and promises to train together soon. Gohan headed home to his family, eager to hug Videl and Pan. Piccolo returned to the lookout to meditate on what he'd learned. And Goku and Vegeta, after eating their fill, stood together on Capsule Corp's lawn, looking up at the stars. "We were completely outmatched," Vegeta said quietly. "Everything we've trained for, every transformation we've achieved, all of it was nothing compared to them." "Yeah," Goku agreed, "but we still fought, and we still made them acknowledge us. That's something." Vegeta snorted. "You and your optimism. We barely survived Kakarot, but we did survive, and now the universes are opening up. We can train with Jiren, with Broly, with warriors we haven't even met yet. There's so much potential for growth." Vegeta looked at his rival and shook his head. "You're already thinking about the next battle, aren't you? We just fought literal gods of everything, and you're already planning to get stronger." Goku's grin was unrepentant. "That's what Saiyans do, Vegeta. We fight, we lose, we get stronger, we fight again. The Omni-Kings showed us the peak. Now we know what's possible. Doesn't that excite you?" Vegeta was silent for a long moment. Then, reluctantly, he smiled. "Damn you, Kakarot. Yes, it excites me. The thought of reaching that level, of mastering power like that. It's intoxicating." "Then let's train harder than ever," Goku said, extending his fist. "Together. No more rivalry getting in the way of growth." Vegeta looked at the offered fist, pride warring with pragmatism. Finally, he bumped his fist against Goku's. "Together," he agreed. "But I'm still going to surpass you first. We'll see about that." The two Saiyans stood there under the stars, battered and exhausted, but already thinking about tomorrow's training. Behind them, the party continued with laughter and warmth. Above them, the multiverse spun on, newly connected, full of possibility. And in the infinite void, the Omni-Kings watched and smiled, pleased with what they'd created, excited to see what would come next. The battle with the Omni-Kings was over, but the real journey, the journey to reach the peak they glimpsed, was just beginning. The fused Gogeta raised both hands above his head, fingers spread wide, and began gathering energy from across the null realm itself. Silver and purple light spiraled into his palms, growing brighter and denser with each passing second. His aura exploded outward so violently that even Jiren had to brace himself against the pressure waves. Gohan and Piccolo added their own energy to the gathering storm. Golden and orange streams flowing into Gogeta's charging attack. "This is it," Gogeta said, through gritted teeth, his voice echoing with both Goku's determination and Vegeta's pride. "Everything we have, everything we are. If this doesn't make them fight seriously, nothing will." The sphere between his hands grew to the size of a house, crackling with raw destructive and creative force intertwined. It was more than just Kai. It was willpower given form, Saiyan's stubbornness condensed into energy. The refusal to surrender even against impossible odds. Gogeta could feel Goku's memories of every battle, every defeat, every moment of rising back up stronger. He could feel Vegeta's burning need to prove himself, to stand equal with gods and demons alike. Final Big Bang. Kamehameha, Gogeta roared, and hurled the massive sphere directly at the combined Zenos. The attack screamed across the distance, leaving reality warped in its wake. Gohan fired a Masenko that merged with it. Piccolo unleashed a special beam cannon that drilled into its core. Jiren charged forward alongside the blast, his fist cocked back, red aura blazing like a dying star. The combined assault represented everything Universe 7 and Universe 11 could muster. The absolute peak of mortal combat potential. The Zeno, still holding hands, watched the attack approach with those wide, innocent eyes. Then they spoke in perfect unison, their dual voices reverberating through existence itself. "Very impressive," they said together. "But we need to show you something too." Both Omni-Kings raised their free hands and a single white orb appeared above their heads, no bigger than a marble. It didn't pulse with energy. It didn't radiate power. It simply existed. And that existence was more terrifying than any attack Gogeta had ever faced, because he could sense what it was. Pure erasure compressed into a single point, not destruction, not death, simply the negation of being. The marble-sized orb floated forward lazily, almost drifting, moving to intercept the massive combined attack. When they met, there was no explosion, no clash of energies. Gogeta's final Big Bang, Kamehameha, enhanced by Gohan and Piccolo's techniques, touched the white marble and simply stopped existing. Not absorbed, not deflected. The energy vanished from reality as if it had never been fired at all. "No," Gogeta whispered, his eyes widening in horror. Jiren, still charging forward with his fist raised, tried to veer away from the marble, but his momentum was too great. His punch connected with the white orb, and his entire arm vanished up to the shoulder, erased from existence. The Pride Trooper screamed, a sound of pure anguish, and Gohan teleported in using instant transmission to yank him backward before the erasure could spread further. Jiren collapsed to his knees, clutching the stump where his arm had been, his face twisted in agony and shock. His legendary durability, his unbreakable will, none of it mattered against erasure. Piccolo stretched his arms and grabbed both Jiren and Gohan, pulling them back towards safety, while Gogeta hovered between them and the advancing marble of nothingness. "This is beyond fighting," Piccolo shouted, his tactical mind finally accepting what they faced. "You can't punch erasure, you can't block it. We need to retreat." "No," Gogeta said, but his voice was uncertain for the first time since fusing. "If we run, they'll just keep chasing. The Zenos want to see us try." He looked at the white marble floating closer, leaving a trail of absolute void behind it. But how do you fight something that erases whatever it touches? The combined Zenos floated forward, still hand in hand, their expressions pleased. "You're learning," they said together. "Fighting us isn't about strength. It's about understanding what we are." Gogeta's mind raced, Goku's intuition and Vegeta's strategic thinking working in tandem. What we are. They're not just powerful beings. They're the rules themselves. They define what exists and what doesn't. So attacking them directly is useless because existence itself bends to their will. But then how? The answer hit him like lightning. You don't fight the rules. You work within them. You prove your worth not by overpowering them, but by showing you deserve to exist despite them. Gogeta powered down from his combined ultra form, dropping back to base. The sudden absence of his overwhelming aura made everyone gasp in shock. Gohan tried to shout a warning, but Gogeta raised a hand to silence him. The fused Saiyan slowly lowered himself to the ground, and in a gesture that seemed insane given the circumstances, bowed deeply to the Omni-Kings. "Grand Zenos," Gogeta said, his voice carrying clearly across the battlefield. "I understand now. This isn't a fight we can win through strength. You're showing us that no matter how powerful we become, we exist only because you allow it. Our transformations, our techniques, our very lives, are gifts you've granted by not erasing us." The white marble stopped advancing, hovering in place. The Zenos tilted their heads curiously, but Gogeta continued, straightening from his bow. "That doesn't mean we stop trying. Because the reason you allow us to exist is because we're interesting, because we struggle and grow and refuse to give up even when we should. You could erase us right now and we couldn't stop you, but we're betting that you won't, because we still have more to show you. The combined Zenos looked at each other, something passing between them. Then they released each other's hands, separating back into two distinct beings. The white marble dissolved into nothingness, and they both smiled. Gogeta understands, President Zeno said happily. Most people just try to be stronger, future Zeno added. But Gogeta knows it's about more than strength. The present Grand Priest appeared beside his charges and nodded approvingly. Indeed, the mortal has grasped a fundamental truth. Power without wisdom is meaningless. Strength without purpose is hollow. He gestured toward Gogeta. You have shown not just compatibility, but growth in understanding. This pleases the Omni-Kings greatly. Behind Gogeta, Jiren struggled to his feet with Gohan supporting him. The Pride Trooper's face was pale, his missing arm already regenerating slowly through sheer willpower, but his eyes were focused and clear. He understands what I learned in the Tournament of Power, Jiren said quietly, that there are things more important than individual strength. Piccolo nodded, his respect for the fused warrior growing. He turned a battle into a lesson. Typical Kakarot, always learning even in the middle of a fight. The two Zenos floated closer to Gogeta, who remained standing in a relaxed posture, his guard completely down. They circled him curiously, examining him like children discovering a new toy. You're not scared anymore, President Zeno observed. Even though we could erase you, future Zeno added. Gogeta smiled, and it was Goku's innocent smile mixed with Vegeta's confident smirk. I'm terrified, he admitted honestly. But being scared and giving up are two different things. You taught me and Vegeta that during the Tournament of Power. Fear is fine as long as you keep moving forward anyway. The Zenos giggled and clapped their hands together. We like Gogeta, they said in unison. He's honest. The present Grand Priest tapped his staff gently. My lords, shall we conclude the exhibition match? The mortals have performed admirably and demonstrated growth beyond mere combat prowess. Not yet, President Zeno said, surprising everyone. We want to give them something, future Zeno agreed. The two Omni-Kings floated up until they were eye level with Gogeta, then reached out and touched his chest with their small hands. The moment their fingers made contact, Gogeta gasped as something flowed into him. Not energy, not power, something deeper. Information, understanding, knowledge that existed beyond words or techniques. Images flooded his mind. He saw the multiverse from the Zenos' perspective, 12 universes spinning in an infinite void, each one a bubble of existence maintained by divine will. He saw the angels and their roles as guides and observers. He saw the gods of destruction and their necessary function in pruning universes to allow new growth. He saw Supreme Kais creating life and nurturing potential. The entire cosmic hierarchy laid bare in his consciousness, and he understood. The Omni-Kings weren't tyrants or monsters. They were gardeners. They erased universes not from cruelty, but from necessity, removing what had become stagnant or corrupt to make room for new possibilities. Their childlike nature wasn't a facade. It was genuine innocence combined with absolute authority, the purity of children who had never known anything they couldn't control. The vision faded, and Gogeta stumbled backward, breathing hard. The Zenos lowered their hands and smiled. Now you know, President Zeno said. What we really are, future Zeno finished. Gogeta looked at them with new understanding in his eyes. You're not evil. You're not even really good. You just are. The fundamental force that decides what exists and what doesn't. And you're lonely. The Zenos' smiles flickered for just a moment. a flash of something deeper showing through. Then they brightened again and nodded. "That's why we like Goku-san," President Zeno said softly. "He treats us like friends, not like scary gods. Everyone else is too afraid," future Zeno added. "But Goku just wants to play and have fun." Gogeta felt Goku's emotions surge through the fusion. A wave of genuine affection for these strange, powerful beings who ruled everything but just wanted companionship. He felt Vegeta's resistance to that sentiment, his pride bristling at the idea of pitying the Omni-Kings. But even Vegeta's harsh pragmatism couldn't deny the truth of what they'd been shown. The fusion knelt down to the Xenos' level, eye to eye with them. "Then you'll always have Universe 7 as friends," Gogeta said firmly. "No matter how strong we get, or how much we learn, we'll never be too important to spend time with you." That's a promise from both Goku and Vegeta. The Xenos' eyes went wide, and for a moment they looked like they might cry. Then they flew forward and hugged Gogeta, their small arms barely reaching around his shoulders. The fused warrior hugged them back gently, mindful of their size, and everyone watching felt a lump form in their throats at the surreal sight of the most powerful beings in existence, seeking comfort like children. "Match is over," President Zeno said, his voice muffled against Gogeta's shoulder. "Universe 7 wins," future Zeno agreed. "You made us really happy." The Grand Priest appeared on either side, and the present one inclined his head respectfully. A most satisfactory conclusion. The Omni-Kings are pleased, and the multiverse has witnessed something unprecedented. He raised his staff and the golden barrier dissolved completely. Immediately, Whis rushed forward with more senzu beans, distributing them to the injured warriors. Gogeta stood as the Xenos released him, and his fusion began to flicker. The Potara earrings on Goku and Vegeta's ears cracked. The energy sustaining the merger finally depleted. White light engulfed the fused warrior, and when it faded, two separate Saiyans stood there, both looking exhausted but satisfied. Goku immediately grinned at the Xenos and gave them a thumbs up. "That was amazing, you two. Best fight I've ever had, even if I got completely wrecked." Vegeta crossed his arms, his pride demanding he maintain some dignity despite barely being able to stand. "Next time will last longer," he said firmly. "This was just the first round." The Xenos giggled and waved. "Okay, Goku-san, Vegeta-san, we'll fight again someday. But not too soon," future Zeno added. "You need to train more first." Jiren approached, his arm now fully regenerated through sheer stubborn willpower and the senzu bean's healing properties. He bowed to the Omni-Kings respectfully. "Thank you for allowing me to participate. This battle taught me more than years of training could have." "You're strong," President Zeno said approvingly. "Almost as strong as Goku-san and Vegeta-san." "Keep getting stronger," future Zeno encouraged. "We want all universes to have powerful warriors." Gohan and Piccolo walked over, both looking shell-shocked but alive. Piccolo put a hand on Gohan's shoulder and squeezed gently. "You did well, kid. Your Gohan beast form held up against forces that should have erased you. Kami would be proud." Gohan smiled weakly. "I just kept thinking about Pan and Videl. If I fell, who would protect them? That thought kept me fighting, even when my body wanted to quit." The Grand Priest cleared his throat formally. "The Omni-Kings have made their decree regarding inter-universe cooperation. Beginning immediately, warriors from all 12 universes may visit and train together with the Supreme Kai approval. This is a new era for the multiverse. Use it wisely." Beerus stepped forward from where he'd been watching, his expression a mix of relief and exasperation. About time this insanity concluded. "Whis, take everyone back to Earth. I'm starving and someone owes me the feast I was promised." "As you wish, Lord Beerus," Whis said with an amused smile. He tapped his staff, and rainbow light began to gather around the Universe 7 warriors. "Wait," Goku said suddenly, looking at the Zenos. "Can I ask you something?" Both Omni-Kings tilted their heads. "What is it, Goku-san?" Goku scratched his head sheepishly. "When you touched Gogeta and showed him all that stuff about the multiverse and why you erase things, was that your way of saying we can trust you? That you're not just randomly destroying universes?" The Zenos looked at each other, then back at Goku, with serious expressions. "We erase universes that stop growing," President Zeno said, "that become mean or lazy. But Universe 7 keeps surprising us," future Zeno continued. "You always find new ways to grow stronger and work together. So we won't erase you," they said together, "as long as you keep being interesting and good." Goku's grin widened into something brilliant and relieved. "That's all I needed to hear. Thanks, Zenos. You're great friends." The Omni-Kings waved enthusiastically as Whis activated his transportation technique. In a flash of prismatic light, the warriors vanished from the null realm, leaving only the Zenos, the Grand Priests, and the assembled angels. "That was the most fun we've had in forever," President Zeno said happily. "Let's watch Universe 7 more closely," future Zeno suggested. "They always do interesting things." The Grand Priest bowed in unison. "As you command, my lords." And with that, the divine beings dispersed, returning to their various duties across the multiverse. Back on Earth, Capsule Corp's lawn materialized around the warriors as Whiss's transportation released them. It was sunset now, the sky painted in oranges and purples, and the contrast between the infinite void of the null realm and Earth's vibrant atmosphere was jarring. Goku immediately collapsed onto his back in the grass, laughing with pure relief. "We're alive," he said to the sky. "We actually survived fighting the Omni-Kings." Vegeta sat down heavily beside him, too exhausted to maintain his usual standoffish posture. "Barely survived," he corrected. "Another minute, and that erasure marble would have gotten all of us." "But it didn't," Piccolo said, landing nearby with his arms crossed, because Gogeta understood what they wanted. Sometimes wisdom beats strength. Bulma ran out of the building with Trunks right behind her, and she immediately started checking everyone for injuries with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd done this 100 times before. "You're all in one piece," she said, relief evident in her voice despite her stern tone. "That's something at least." "Mom," Trunks said quietly, staring at his father. "Dad, you really fought the Omni-Kings, the actual rulers of everything." Vegeta looked at his son, and something softened in his expression. "Someone had to keep your fool of a godfather from getting himself erased," he said gruffly. "Might as well have been me." Gohan pulled out his phone and immediately called Videl, his hands shaking slightly as he explained he was okay and would be home soon. When he hung up, he looked at Goku with an expression that mixed pride and exasperation. "Dad, only you could turn a friendly conversation with the Omni-Kings into a battle for survival." "Hey," Goku protested, sitting up. "It worked out, didn't it? We're all alive. The universes are opening up for training, and Zeno said he won't erase us as long as we stay interesting." "That last part is what worries me," Piccolo muttered. "Our continued existence is now dependent on entertaining child gods." "Could be worse," Jiren said, and everyone turned to look at the massive Pride Trooper. "You could be in a universe that's already been erased. Universe 7's creativity and growth is what keeps you safe." "That's admirable." Was materialized a large table covered in Earth delicacies, including a massive amount of fish for Beerus, who immediately sat down and began eating. The others gradually joined, exhaustion fading as hunger took over. Even Vegeta accepted food without his usual grumbling, too drained to maintain appearances. As they ate, Goku looked around at his friends and allies, a soft smile on his face. "You know what?" he said quietly. Today I realized something important. Everyone looked at him, waiting. Even Beerus paused his eating. Strength isn't just about power levels or transformations, Goku continued. It's about why you fight and who you fight for. Gogeta understood that. When we fused, I could feel Vegeta's determination to protect his family, mixed with my love of battle, and it created something stronger than either of us alone. Vegeta snorted but didn't disagree. Don't get sentimental, Kakarot. We're still rivals. Next time we spar, I'm not holding back. Goku's grin returned. Wouldn't want it any other way. But now we can train with warriors from other universes too. Imagine fighting Jiren regularly, or finally getting Broly to join us for real training sessions. The possibilities are intriguing, Whis admitted. Inter-universe cooperation could elevate all warriors to heights previously impossible. Though I suspect you two will still find ways to nearly die regularly. It's what we do best, Vegeta said dryly. As the feast continued and the sun finally set, painting the sky in deep purples and blues, the group slowly relaxed. The tension of facing the Omni-Kings faded, replaced by the comfortable camaraderie of warriors who'd survived the impossible together. Jiren eventually said his goodbyes, promising to return for training sessions once the Supreme Kais worked out the logistics. Gohan headed home to his family. Piccolo returned to the lookout to meditate, and Goku and Vegeta remained on Capsule Corp's lawn, sitting side by side in companionable silence as stars began appearing overhead. We touched something today, Vegeta said quietly. When Gogeta pushed past our individual limits and created that combined form, that was a glimpse of a realm beyond even angels. Goku nodded. Yeah. Whis called it autonomous destruction, a state where perfect offense and perfect defense exist at the same time. It felt impossible, but also natural, like that's what we were always meant to achieve. Vegeta looked at his rival. Think we can master it separately before trying to fuse into it again? Goku's eyes lit up with excitement. That's exactly what I was thinking. If we can both reach that level individually, imagine what Gogeta would become. You're already planning the next impossible goal, Vegeta said. But there was no anger in his voice, just resignation and perhaps a hint of excitement. Fine, but this time we train smarter. Use the inter-universe program. Learn from Jiren, from Broly, from anyone who can push us further. Deal, Goku said, extending his fist. Vegeta bumped it with his own. Deal. Now go home before Chi-Chi comes looking for you. I've had enough near-death experiences for one day without adding your wife's fury. Goku laughed and stood up, stretching. Yeah, probably smart. See you tomorrow for training. Obviously. As Goku flew off toward Mount Baozu, Vegeta remained sitting, looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, in the infinite cosmos, the Omni-Kings watched. And for the first time in his life, Vegeta didn't feel dread at that observation. Just a strange sense of purpose. The rulers of everything had acknowledged Universe 7's worth. Now it was up to them to prove that acknowledgement wasn't misplaced. He stood and walked back into Capsule Corp, where Bulma and Trunks waited. Tomorrow would bring new training, new challenges, new heights to climb. But tonight, he would rest beside his family and allow himself a moment of peace. The battle with the Omni-Kings was over. Universe 7 had survived. And the real journey, the climb toward the impossible peak they'd glimpsed, was only just beginning.